This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Whether it's websites, online stores, or analytics and marketing tools, Squarespace is the place to achieve it all. When it comes to the 2022 title race, it is safe to say that Mercedes is not in the driver's seat. Fortunately for the team, however, a combination of mistakes and reliability issues from some of their competitors means Mercedes isn't completely out of the picture, as they remain second in both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships. But despite the positive outcome of the Australian Grand Prix, with both drivers finishing in the top 4, it appears that the team's dissatisfaction with the season has reached a boiling point, with Lewis Hamilton's critical words heard over the radio. Without further ado, let's take a look at Mercedes' performance in the previous race, as well as what Hamilton's radio messages were all about. Toward the end of the Melbourne race, Hamilton was closing in on teammate George Russell, who had gotten ahead of him thanks to a well-timed safety car. As the pair ran around unchallenged from behind, Hamilton came over the team radio and said, "You guys put me in a really difficult position." While some interpreted the message as criticism of the team because Russell had gotten ahead of him at the pit stops, Hamilton has stated that the message had nothing to do with the position changes. Instead, he explained that the remark was in response to him having to slow down and run in clear air due to his engine overheating as he lapped behind his teammate. Basically, I couldn't race for position because the car was overheating, so I had to back off. Although there was some drama for Mercedes during the race, with a frustrated Lewis Hamilton having to back off as he approached his teammate, the weekend was largely a one positive for the Brackley squad. The signs were not promising for Mercedes following Friday's practice, with both George Russell and Lewis Hamilton struggling to break into the top 10. But that changed with a strong qualifying performance, with Hamilton starting 5th and Russell 6th. Hamilton was unlucky to be hit with a second safety car on race day, but Russell benefited from it, finishing 3rd with an unwilling help from Max Verstappen, who had retired while running 2nd for the second time in 3 races. Meanwhile, Hamilton crossed the finish line in 4th place. One of our favourite features Squarespace provides is the analytics. You're able to use the insights to help grow your business. Squarespace makes it really easy to find out where your site visits and sales are coming from, analysing the data to help you find your keywords and most popular content. Always wanted all of your social media presence updated in one place? Well, Squarespace allows you to sync your socials with your website so that your audience can be updated. You also have the option to automatically push website content to your own social media channel so your followers can share it there too. Have you felt like YouTube community posting doesn't offer you the connection with your audience that you hope for? Well, Squarespace allows you to create your own community on your website with fully integrated commenting systems that support threads, replies, and even likes. You can build your audience through connecting with them directly on your own site. Head to squarespace.com to start your free trial, and when you're ready to go full steam ahead, go to squarespace.com/slipstream to save 10% off your first purchase of a website domain. And according to Mercedes boss Toto Wolff, the results shows that some progress has been made. And while the W13 is still no match for Ferrari or Red Bull, he sees a fantastic team spirit and a healthy driver dynamic. We are leaving Melbourne in a better state than when we arrived. More lessons learned, more data to analyse, and more points on the board. Clearly, we haven't got the pace yet to challenge Ferrari and Red Bull, but we know where we need to seek performance. One factor that leaves me very optimistic for the future is the mindset and strength of the team. Everyone in the UK, in Stuttgart, in the travelling race team, is pulling together every ounce of effort we have to tackle the performance gaps with determination and a deep hunger. Seeing Lewis and George perform at an exceptionally high level today, with a tool that is clearly not on the pace of the leaders, is another example of the spirit of this team. We are optimistic, yet realistic, of the timeline for improvement and the advantage our competitors have, but P3 and P4 helps us leave Australia with a good feeling. Both drivers deserved the podium today. Lewis was unlucky with the timing of the safety car, but the partnership between the two and how they work with one another epitomises the overall spirit of the team. Mercedes trackside engineer Andrew Chauvelin reiterated the team's inability to compete with Ferrari or Red Bull. As a result, the Australian Grand Prix was yet another example of damage limitation, with P3 and P4 finishes ticking all the boxes. Well done to George on his first Mercedes podium. He's working hard to help us improve the car, and whilst we've not got the pace right now that we would hope for, the podium is some reward for his efforts. Lewis lost out with the timing of the safety car. He'd managed to put Sergio Perez under pressure in that first stint, and we exited from the stop ahead of him. But ultimately, we don't have the underlying car pace to race them, even if our degradation was probably a little bit better. At this stage of the championship, we're focused on just two things: damage limitation and learning. In both regards, this has been a successful weekend, but we know we have a lot to do. Charles Leclerc was in another world today, so it's likely a long road ahead, but we're not short of opportunities to find lap time around the car. With a P3 finish in the Australian Grand Prix, George Russell earned his first podium for Mercedes and moved up to second in the drivers' standings. The Briton later admitted that he was surprised to be in that position given his team's deficit to Red Bull and Ferrari. Credit to the team at Brackley and Brixworth, because obviously we want more performance and we are a step behind Ferrari and Red Bull in terms of pace. But you've got to be there at the end to pick up the points. And that's what we've done on a number of occasions now. This weekend, we were the 5th fastest team behind Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren and Alpine, and currently standing P3 on the podium and P2 in the championship. It's pretty crazy. This is George Russell's second career podium, but given that his first appearance was achieved with 0 laps of racing, this one is undeniably sweeter. However, Russell dismissed the notion that Mercedes had gained ground on Red Bull and Ferrari, but admitted the results like this podium will only help them in the future. I'd love to say we made a lot of progress, but we've got to look at the lap times, and we haven't closed the gap at all to Perez and Leclerc. And we know we've got a lot of work to do, and I have faith that we'll get there. We know there's potential in the car, and we have a lot of work to do to extract that performance. It won't happen overnight or in the next race, but I do think in time we'll get there. For the time being, if we get these results, it's keeping us in the mix. However, as Mercedes continues to struggle with progress in terms of speed, tensions will undoubtedly rise over time. The German team's lackluster start to the new season has also fueled speculation about Hamilton's long-term future in F1. Wolff, however, dismissed rumours that Hamilton's underperforming machinery will force him into an early retirement. You can only walk away if you don't like what you do anymore, but Lewis loves doing this. Fernando Alonso wants to go on for another 3 years. Today's athletes look after themselves much better. More is known about the science, nutrition, health and medical side of it, and Lewis is in fantastic shape. His lifestyle is hugely disciplined now, and he has many, many years to go. In Britain, a couple means 2, but where I come from in Austria, a couple means a few. And there are a few more years to go. And isn't it a great challenge for him? He was at McLaren, then he went to Mercedes when it wasn't great, and has won 6 titles here. The team has got it wrong now, but he can be part of the rise again. It remains to be seen whether Mercedes will be able to right the ship in the coming weeks and months as they resolve the issues that have plagued their recent on-track efforts. Wolff went on to say, while the Silver Arrows are likely to compete for any end-of-season honours this year, they are not willing to give up the chase and will continue to work hard behind the scenes to give themselves the best chance of recouping their performance deficit. I have had to stop thinking in terms of sessions and weekends, but about years. There will be years like this one where we have really bad weekends, but these weekends are necessary to learn. Are we going to fight for the World Championships? My expectation from a pure mathematical stance is no, we are too slow. This needs to be a blip and not a long-term downward spiral. It will be a blip, and that is why we need to get it right now, not on the stopwatch, but mentally. And it's not just the challenge of being on the back foot that may inspire Hamilton to work harder. After all, from the Brit's point of view, he has unfinished business in F1, as he undoubtedly feels cheated out of last year's Drivers' Championship title. What are your thoughts on Mercedes' performance in Australia? Did they find a key, or are they mostly in the same place? Is the relationship between the two teammates primarily positive or negative at this point? We'd love to hear your comments in the section below. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to click the bell button to be notified of future videos.